and welcome to this week's Good Work Show. We're excited to be with you again. We're on a roll now.
We're on a roll, and we have a really great guest today talking about, sometimes we talk to a lot of different folks about a lot of different issues, and this one is this is really different. It's something I never thought about, mostly because I don't have any animals in my house, which made me realize I'm like, oh, we don't hear Uno anymore.
Oh yeah. You know what? He's not well, you tell everybody my business.
I'm sorry. It just made me
I gotta get a fake barking thing. But no, Uno is some of you who are loyal listeners probably knew that was my guard dog. He serviced the whole block. So anytime anybody who was on the block, no matter if you were minding your own business at your own house, he would be barking. But yeah, he moved to Smyrna. He's doing well. He's holding his own. He's still running the block. Well, he run the whole building, I guess, over there. But he's doing good. So yeah.
So when are you getting a new dog?
Nope. Nope. Uno, he comes and visits sometimes, and that's
okay.
Yeah, he comes and visit. So he's welcome to visit, and then he liked to go back to his own house.
I think you should think about getting another dog.
Oh, why won't you? You should.
Because I never had one, so it's not like I'm replacing.
I know that's the perfect time to try it out, Trinice. You got a nice new place. Dog can run around up the stairs, down the stairs, up the stairs again, down the stairs again. Got a nice little patio on the back. I think that would be nice for you.
So, every once in a while I do get it in, like I see a picture of a really cute dog and I'm like, oh, I want a dog. And then earlier this week, I looked out the window and it was, when I say it was pouring down rain, it was like white out pouring down rain, and it was cold. And there was this man walking down the street with his dog. And I was like, nope. I get a reminder. And I mean, I don't know if they got caught in the rain, because it wasn't even like they were moving quickly. It was that walk where it was like, I'm out here and walking faster isn't going to change anything. He just looked so defeated. And I was like, it's just, you get that reminder, like, oh yeah, the dog, like, that's cute, snuggle on the couch, whatever. But eventually it's going to be 15 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that stuff never really bothered me. It was more so if I had to be somewhere for an extended period of time, and I don't live close to anything but my house. That I live close to my house. So it was tough to have to go back. So thankfully now there are organizations like the one that we're going to talk to today, Transitions Pet Care, that will be available to help folks, particularly those, and they do support those who are maybe sick or have maybe are no longer alive, or family members who have a pet that belong to another family member, and so they're there to lend a hand and provide those services for those pets, which I can just imagine now is probably a huge thing. But to your point, I didn't even think about all of that. I mean, I know people who have passed and they've had pets, and usually it just goes to the next family member. It's just like not really the thought. But if you don't have someone there, or maybe the next family member isn't in a position to take the dog, or like many people who got sick during COVID and had to go into the hospital for a time, if you're the only caretaker for your pet, what do you do?
Or even if it's something short term, like I think about, like, well, what if I fall down and twist my ankle? What, there's, right. So this is great organization providing a service that, I mean, I'm sure countless people need. So fairly new organization too. So it'll be good to hear kind of how they came about. And then more importantly, how we can get some more people in there to help and volunteer, and, to be able to support that as well. So looking forward to that. And here it is.
Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Good Work Show. We are excited because we are joined by Beverly Means, who is the founder and executive director of Transitions Pet Care. So welcome to the show, Beverly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I've got Tater joining us too.
It's always good to have special guests. Yeah. So you know what? So it goes without saying then that this show is going to be about pets and the furry friends that are in our lives. So tell us about Transition Pet Care. What's the organization about and what's your mission?
Sure. So we started in 2020, which is probably one of the hardest times to start a business, but I just thought, why not? So what we do, what our main program is we provide free pet care, like dog walking, litter box maintenance, transportation to vet and grooming appointments for pet owners who, are diagnosed with a major illness like cancer, or they are recovering from a major injury, or they've had a surgery, or they're just elderly and they need some help with that physical care, so usually they'll just reach out to me through word of mouth, or somebody in their healthcare or their support network will hear about us and reach out, and we just go over there and help them walk their dogs and help them take care of their pet. That way they can keep their pet without neglecting them, because a lot of times they just don't have the ability to care for their pet. And I don't want them to have to give their pet up, because I can't imagine going through a major illness. You don't feel well, you're scared, you're sad, you're already losing a lot. And the last thing that you want to give up is that companion that gives you so much comfort. But on the same side, you don't want to have to neglect them either, because then you start to feel guilty about it. So that's our primary purpose. And we are actually the only nonprofit in the city of Atlanta that does provide free pet care, and one of only a few organizations in the United States that does this sort of work. So I'm really excited about us getting started, and I'm really excited about Atlanta finally having this service, because there's a lot of great support for pets and their owners, but at the end of the day, if they can't physically care for their pet, they'll still have to surrender them. Mm-hmm. And then we also provide temporary foster care if an owner's in the hospital, so we can take care of their pet for them. And if an owner that we're helping out were to pass away or need to go into a higher level of care, like a nursing home, then we can help them rehome their pet so that their pet never ends up in the shelter. And then lastly, I know it's a lot, we also educate all pet owners, regardless of their age or their health status, about the importance of having a written plan for their pet in the event that the owner becomes incapacitated or passes away. It's really important. It doesn't take very long. You can just write something up, who you want your pet to go to, the instructions, all that. And it's a huge relief for your friends and family who are stuck trying to figure out what to do with your pet. It's a big stressor. It's a big nightmare, and it has a pretty simple solution. So those are our main programs.
That's a lot. So I would imagine in 2020 that you might have gotten even some folks who needed help who might have had COVID or whatever, but what made you decide, okay, this is the time that I'm going to go ahead and put, just get started?
Yeah, I know. I came up with the idea, I'm almost 40 and I'm a single person. And so I was having one of those moments that sometimes us single folks have, where we're like, darn it, I really am going to end up alone. But then I decided to kind of turn that into more of an empowerment moment of just saying, like, well, if that's the case, then I need to make sure I have all of my stuff together. And part of that was making sure I had resources to help me care for my pets. So just being a planner, I started looking around as far as, I would want somebody to help me care for my pets, and I would want them to help me rehome them if I were to ever become incapacitated. And I was surprised I didn't see anything. And so so that's how my idea came around, to combine pet care and rescue services. And I didn't really want start an organization. It wasn't really in my heart to do, it wasn't like, oh, I want to start a business and what should it be and all that kind of stuff. But once I came up with the idea, it just meant so much to me that it's like I couldn't not do it. And so, yeah, it was bad timing, but it's like it just kind of took hold of me. That's kind of the way to explain. I couldn't not do it. In our first year, we just did the rehoming services because obviously during the pandemic, especially before the vaccine, we knew nobody's going to want us coming in their home. It wasn't safe for anybody. So just as a pivot and a starting point, we just focused on rehoming pets whose owner had passed away. And then we've just started our pet care. So.
Oh. Well, you know what? I mean, I think it probably goes without saying there's a lot of folks who are glad you started the organization, particularly at the time where you did. Is there a story maybe that you could share about, maybe rehoming a pet, or even now, I know you're just getting into the pet care services that you offer, but somewhere you can show, because I feel like, as Trinice mentioned, with COVID or with people who had to unfortunately maybe go into the hospital, or even worse, during COVID, and that they weren't able to, I mean, the problem I can see is this, exactly, there's a niche and there's a need for your organization. So can you share maybe a story or two that happened since you started?
Sure. With the pet care side, one of our first customers is an elderly man who he had a stroke a few years ago. So so he uses a cane, but even with the cane, he's still a little unsteady. And he and his husband owned a dog together. And so his husband was his main caregiver. And unfortunately, his husband got really sick, not COVID related, but, another illness, and went into the hospital, fought for his life, and passed away after a few months, leaving this man by himself with the dog to take care of and, trying to figure out how to even take care of himself. But he doesn't want to give up his dog because now it's his main companion, but it's also sort of an extension of his husband.
Mm-hmm.
Because our pets, they become an extension of it, and so we're able to go in there and walk the dog for him, and which is something he wasn't able to do. So you imagine the alternative is that the stuff is in the house. And so the house becomes a little bit more unsanitary. And so now that the dog is able to do its business outside, the house is cleaner. And then we were also able to help the dog with treating a skin infection that she had. She had fleas. We got that under control, which is a benefit to him too, because he doesn't have fleas in his house. We're able to take care of all that, get her back on her heartworm preventative, flea medication, like I said, and make sure she gets exercise so she gets the care that she needs, and he gets to keep his dog, which now is probably even more meaningful to him. And then also I'm a medical social worker, or at least I was. And so I can help his support system sort of navigate all the caregiver resources and home health resources and get services set up for him. Because as you guys can imagine, or maybe you've experienced, healthcare is a beast. And when you don't really know the system, it can be overwhelming. So we're also able to go in there and just be kind of an extra support for the pet mainly, but we build that relationship with the owner too, to be able to help them navigate some of the challenges that they might be having. And so that's on our pet care side. I just signed up a person who he is terminal, and really one of his dying wishes is to be able to keep his dogs for the remainder of his life. And so we're able to help him with that goal, which I think is just, very meaningful. It's what I would want. I wouldn't want to go through that without my best friends next to me. So, and then just quickly on the rehoming side, we really saw that there is a need for the pet care side, because a lot of the pets that were being surrendered to us, the owner had a long period of time where they were sick, and that pet's health neglect was or had declined as well. And so we were having pets come into our program that, had active skin infections, like the other dog I was telling you about, dry eyes that hadn't been treated in years, which, can you imagine how painful? One dog hadn't been on his seizure medicine for over a year and started having seizures. So we were able to do all that. So, there's people out there that are really struggling to care for their pet, and they don't have an easy way to reach out, because if they reach out and say, hey, I need help, usually or historically that conversation is, well, maybe we need to rehome Rufus then. And that's the last thing that they want, because like I said, they've already lost so much. And so now people can say, hey, I need some help taking care of my pet. And now there's an actual resource that they can bring into their home to help them do that. And the conversation doesn't have to turn into, where Rufus is going to go, so.
This has been amazing. So we want to we have just about a minute or so left, but we want to make sure that people know how they can get in contact with you. One, if they need your services, or if they know of somebody who needs your services. And then also, how can people support what you're doing? Because I would imagine that there's a lot of people who may be out there, now that people are maybe even working from home a little bit more, they may have some time to go do, they may find out, like, oh, my neighbor needs some help. I can pop over and take the dog for a walk. So how can people connect with you for help? And then how can they connect with you to be helpful?
Sure. So they can email me at transitionspetcare@gmail.com. And it's on our website at transitionspetcare.org. And they can just reach out and we can go from there.
Well, fantastic. Beverly, it was a pleasure to get to know you. Thanks so much for your desire and your care and love for pets, that you're extending that to so many others who could definitely use the help. So thank you so much. And thanks to, was it Tater who was joining us today?
Yeah, he was
so well behaved.
Yes. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, but thank you again. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, bye.